accessories, and simple sewing. Today on It's So Easy. Let the experts show you why it's so easy. If you're a contemporary sewer looking for projects and techniques to enhance your sewing skills and create personalized apparel and home accents, our teachers will break sewing into manageable parts as they share their own unique style. Whether you're a novice or experienced sewer, you'll learn why it's so easy. Designer Gretchen Hirsch starts us out with an updated skirt with a retro vibe. Then Trish Waddell makes a silk scarf with simple sewing. Finally, Trish Preston has all the tips you need to make fashion-forward purses and totes to coordinate with every outfit.
I've always just loved vintage fashion, so I chronicle clothes I make that are all retro-inspired.
Hi, my name's Gretchen Hirsch. I'm a sewing blogger and I love to make vintage-inspired clothes. So today I'm going to show you how to make this really simple skirt. This is a full skirt. It has a lapped zipper, which is just a really simple concealed zipper. I used a fancy button here, but what I really love to do in these skirts is to add horsehair braid to the hem. And that's what gives it its really full, fun shape. And you can see in the skirt that I'm wearing, it's really fun to twirl in. You can make it in lots of different fabrics. This is a wool and silk blend. This is cotton. You should have one in every color, I think. So let's talk about the pattern. It's a really simple pattern. It has two pieces. So this piece right here is your front and your back, and you cut it on the fold. And this is your waistband. And a really important thing to note about this pattern is that it's very wide, which is what makes it so fun and full. But you have to be careful that your fabric is 60 inches, and it really has to be 60, otherwise that little edge will go off the fabric. But the other thing you can do is if you have a fabric that's 45 inches wide and you just love it and you want to use it, what you can do is you can cut it on the cross grain. So instead of folding your fabric selvage to selvage, you can fold it cut end to cut end. And that's called cutting on the cross grain. So, and here's the waistband, which you can see is just put on with this little button and buttonhole here. But I bet what you really want to learn about today is how to do this really fun horsehair braid hem. So let me show you a little piece of horsehair. This is what it looks like. And this stuff actually used to be made out of actual horsehair, but we don't do that anymore. It's polyester now. So as you can see, it has a little string sewn in the top, which you can use to pull to shape it. And that allows you to get a curved hem. And what's so great about this finish is that it hems your skirt and it also acts as a facing. So not only does it give you the shape, but it's a facing that hems your skirt. So this comes in different widths. This is about 1.5 inches wide, but as you can see on this skirt, this is a huge piece. I think it's about 5 inches wide. And the wider you go, the more dramatic effect you're gonna get. If you use a really skinny one, you can go down to 1 inch, you'll get a more subtle effect. So that's just something to be aware of. But let's talk about how you put it on the skirt. So I have one sample here where I've sewn up the side seams. I've sewn up the side seams on the skirt. And you can see how I've put an opening for the zipper. What I like to do with my zipper openings is stabilize them with a little bit of fusible interfacing. With a lap zipper, you fold the back in 1/2 inch, and the front is folded in 5/8 of an inch. And that's how you get that concealed lap there. So that's your first step of the skirt. One nice thing to remember on circle skirts is they have this really curved waistband, is it's a really good idea to do a line of stay stitching that's going to keep it from stretching out while you're working on it, and then it won't be too big to actually put into the waistband when you get to that step. So let's look at this sample here, where I've actually put on the waistband, I've put in the zipper. You can see how you get that nice concealed lap zipper. I have a very sparkly button for a little fun. And I've already sewn on the horsehair braid. I've done the first step here, which is sewing it to the raw edge of the hem. And this is the outside of the skirt, which is going to feel a little weird to be putting this on the outside of your skirt. So horsehair braid, by its very nature, is very stiff. And so you can imagine that when you cut off the raw edge, it's very scratchy. So what I like to do is add a little piece of fabric to the end that's going to be next to my skin. And that's just a little piece of fabric that's sewn over the edge there, so that when I flip it in, that covered up piece won't snag on my tights or whatever, or on my skin, which can be kind of uncomfortable. So next, let's talk about flipping the horsehair braid to the inside of the skirt, pressing it, and then top stitching it. So let's go over to the iron. It's a good idea to start on one of the side seams, because then you can start your top stitching right at the side seam and conceal it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip that horsehair braid to the inside. And I want to kind of push it down so that that hem is very tight. And then just press. Now, don't keep it too long on the horsehair braid, because it is a synthetic material and it will melt. So be careful that you're concentrating your iron on the fabric. Okay, so now I've done a little bit of pressing there, but the really important thing with the horsehair braid is to make use of this string and use it to curve up that fabric, because a circle skirt is obviously a curved hem, and that is what can make it so difficult to hem sometimes. But this is going to make a really, if I just pull up like that, it's going to make a really beautiful curve that follows the natural curve of the hem. So you can see every just maybe like a couple inches, you can just pull up those little strings. And then I tuck them in, because you don't want them flopping around. And then maybe I'll just give it one more press. And I'm just going to show you this little area right here. Obviously, you're going to need to do the whole skirt. And the thing about circle skirts is there's a lot of fabric, so take your time. And now what I want to do is I want to pin this in place now that I've shaped it exactly how I want it. And I want to pin it from the outside, because the last step is to top stitch, which you obviously do from the top. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start pinning with the head of the pin goes towards the hem. And you know, just every couple inches I can put a pin. And that's going to secure that horsehair braid in place where I've shaped it so nicely. And here you can see from the front, that's what that looks like. So the last step in the hem is to take it to the machine and actually do a top stitched hem. Yes, okay. So for a top stitching, I like to use a little bit longer stitch length because it looks a little bit prettier. So maybe 3.5, and that's going to be my length. So when I put this under the machine, I kind of want to feel where the edge of the horsehair braid is, and that's where I want my line of stitching to be. So what I normally do is I feel it, I can anchor the needle right there, and then I look on the side of the needle plate to see what my guideline is. And right here, it's the very end of that grid, so I know that that is where I'm going to aim the edge of my fabric as I'm top stitching. So now we can start sewing. So I'm going to take out pins as I go. So I'm going to start, just do a couple back stitches. And now I am just top stitching. I'm making sure I'm staying on the horsehair braid, but I'm also looking to the edge here to make sure that I stay lined up. And one thing you want to be careful of is that the fabric stays smooth while you're top stitching, because it can kind of shift and then you can get puckers on this. It creates kind of a band look at the bottom, and it's really cute, but you want to make sure that it's very smooth and subtle. And as I'm going along, I'm just feeling for the ridge where the top of the horsehair braid is, and that I'm knowing that I'm staying on it here. So I'm just going to do this little short area right here. So you can see what it looks like. I'm just going to cut my thread here. And if you look at this hem, see it's just a really subtle, casual top stitch hem. And from the back, the horsehair is secured and it's going to stay in place. So that is how you make a really simple vintage inspired skirt.